person next to you. Say God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, 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 we come together. In the name of love, we come together, 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 we come together. In the name of love. Now look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Now lift your voice and repeat after me. Oh, we come together, 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 we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, from every walk of life, every walk of life, every creed and color, every creed and color, in kinship we unite. In honor of the God in each other. Take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. Oh, we come together, we come together, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, 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 we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together.
Good morning. Nice to have you here. So everybody, make yourself warm. Make yourself at home. You know, All Souls is built on covenant, not creed. We don't have to think like to love alike. We don't have to agree on everything in order to believe that how we live this life matters. How we interact with one another matters. So whoever you are, whatever your age, race, origin, orientation, background, status, ability, identity, if you care to be here with us in mutuality, you are always welcome. Does our board secretary, treasurer have something to share?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome. Okay, so the volunteer of the month for this month is Susan Yellett, who is around here somewhere, so she'll hear us applauding. Right, so Susan does a lot for the church. Right now she is vice president of the church board, as well as helping quite a bit with events that we do at the Highland Center and helping out with Louisiana Aid for Immigrants in Detention. So Susan is involved in a whole lot. So again, congratulations to Susan, Volunteer of the Month for the month of January. And I should say Susan Yellett, because we have a lot of Susans. Our giveaway the plate this month. Now, for those of you who don't know, any money that is donated to the church that is not designated as pledge is given to our giveaway the plate recipient. And this month it's Volunteers for Youth Justice, which if you don't know about them, they train, recruit, and support hundreds of volunteers in the northwestern Louisiana area to help with their 3 main programs: CASA, which is court-appointed special advocates, youth programs, and court programs. So basically, they are taking care of children, youth, and families in crisis. They can always use some help, and so please be generous if you can. In that spirit of generosity, I'm also treasurer, if you didn't know that, and we, of course, need your pledges for this year. If you have not turned in your pledge, if you please would, that would be great. If it's just a one-time donation, that would be great as well. But anything that you could give to the church would be greatly appreciated. So thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
Today, following the service, there are some things back in the social hall that we are wanting to move out of the social hall to make space for an event that's happening later this week. So anybody who can stay and help, it's stuff that needs more than one person to carry, or a lot of it is. We would really appreciate that. In Unitarian Universalist Association calendars, the 15th of this month begins what they call 30 Days of Love. And 30 Days of Love runs till like Valentine's, and they have suggestions for things to focus on each day and practices that you might consider for each day. So if you're interested in that, you can go to uua.org and check it out. I just wanted to lift that up for you. So now it's a good time to take a couple of easy breaths. Let your mind and feet get in the same place. Maybe feel the tension go out of your feet and out of your knees and out of your back and out of your shoulders and neck. Let your shoulders fall down away from your ears. Breathe easily, and let us together enter a spirit of worship. I want to add a reading to the call to worship this morning that's not credited on our slides or in our order of service. It's from Andrea Hawkins Camper. In the houses of the holy, the world pauses. In the hearts of the holy, love abides. In the havens of the holy, hope comforts. In the hearths of the holy, spirit refreshes. Come then, one and all, gather in. Come then, one and all, gather here. Bring all of your heart, bring all of your body, bring all of your soul, bring your whole self, your holy self. Let us shape this sacred space together. We seekers are on a quest to discover truth and meaning. Sometimes we think we found it, wrapped up, glimmering with newness, straight off the intellectual assembly line. All the answers right here for us and others if they'd only listen. But truth has a way of coming in disguise, sometimes wearing rags and sometimes finery, but so often cloaked from our immediate sight. And sometimes that which we have rejected, that which we have let go of or decided was only for others but not us, can be our teacher. Let our time of worship be an acknowledgement of the never-ending journey toward truth and meaning, and our appreciation of those we learn from along the way. Would someone like to help with the first part of our chalice lighting this morning?
We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of the open mind. This is a church of the helping hands. This is a church of the loving heart. Together, with mind, hands, and heart, we care for the earth and for each other.
Thank you. The light we kindle is set in the lamp of our history. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that have come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works pass it boldly on to new generations. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope. In moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown, we light this flame and are emboldened by its blaze. Knowing our strength as a prophetic and powerful people is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love. Would you please rise in body or spirit and say with us the unison affirmation? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other. Our opening hymn is "This Church." There are all kinds of responses that people fill in on these sometimes. This church is meeting here this morning. This church is meeting here this morning. This church is meeting here this morning. Children, get on board. This church has no strangers. This church has no strangers. This church has no strangers. Children, get on board, and there'll be no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing. Children, get on board. This church is filled with seekers. This church is filled with seekers. This church is filled with seekers. Children, get on board. There'll be no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing. This church is open to the mystery. This church is open to the mystery. This church is open to the mystery. Children, get on board. This church is following its calling. This church is following its calling. This church is following its calling. Children, get on board. There'll be no more. Children, get on board. So now, is this key just impossible for everybody? Is it too high or too low? Okay. Another verse. This church can see a new horizon. This church can see a new horizon. This church can see a new horizon. Children, get on board, and there'll be no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing. Children, get on board. No more, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing. Children, get on board. Thank you very much. Can I get some folks to join me up here? Thank you all. So some of this I know you've done before. So are these hard to break?
No.
Just, we're going to do some comparison. Huh? You want to break them? See how hard they are. Is it any harder to break a bigger one?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens if you bind some together?
It's harder.
So does it matter what it is that binds them together?
No.
In some ways, no, huh? The sticks are hard. Does it matter what the sticks are made of when they're bound together?
Yes.
Well, I mean, are these easy to break when they're smaller? And
It's easier to break when they're smaller.
now I don't feel the difference between those two. This one, even the bond is broken. You want to try those, Jackson? See, if even small sticks, when they are bound together, are stronger, right? And sometimes, like we're seeing now, the things that hold people together can be things that are not good. We see a lot of people that are bound together in falsehood, don't we? I mean, what you think that falsehood is may vary, but everybody in this country is pretty much convinced the people that don't think like them are buying into a bunch of lies, right? And behind those lies people are bound together in very firm bonds. So this one has a pipe cleaner around it. Do they have to be the same? These are different sizes and different shapes. But they're still, when they're bound together, whether they're alike or different, they're stronger, right? So what happens when a group of people are bound together?
They're stronger.
Okay. This one, the thing that's holding it together is kind of crumbling. It's not a solid thing. And so they're kind of falling apart. Things can fall out. And the bonds aren't tended. They're aged and they're kind of feeble. Do you know what that means? They're feeble because they've been neglected. The rubber band is rotten, the tape is kind of flimsy and falling apart. So the bonds that hold people together need to be given some care, right? Maybe? Okay, so when people are together, have you heard stories of people when hard things are happening to them, like they're being, having rocks thrown at them or something? What do you think of when you see a rock? Why does it remind you of Jackson? Oh, because he collects them. That's a good reason. Do you think of rocks as being flexible?
No.
Do you think of rocks as being warm?
Sometimes. Depends on where they are.
Good answer. Depends on where they are. So a rock in the sunshine is going to be a warm rock, right? But there's an expression, cold as a stone. But when, hear stories of parents protecting their children when someone is threatening them, right? Parents might actually lay over their children. And when people are in a unit bound together, if they're just kind of holding hands, the circle can be infiltrated. But if they're close together, at very least, the people at the core are going to be protected if something is coming from the outside. All of this is just information, but there's stuff going on in the world that we don't have any control over right now, or pretty much. There's always stuff we can't control. Always. And there are a lot of things that make us stronger when we're together, right? Do you think being together just means hanging out in a close geographical location, or is there more to it than that? Can you name some things that might be more to what makes a group cohesive and safe, or safer? How each person feels about the other people. Now, this bundle of sticks has about the number of people that show up here on a Sunday. It has more than one thing holding it together. It would be really hard to break. They're well-tended bonds. But even though things don't have to be alike to make strong bonds, the bonds still have to be cared for. What we do together matters. And how we treat one another matters, right? Because what else is going to have us strong bonds with one another? Part of the hard part of this tradition, because we don't all think alike, because we don't all believe alike, is being really caring and engaged with, close to people who don't think like us. It's not always as much fun, is it, to be with people who don't think like you? Does it take more? Does it ask more of us? Does it ask more of us? What do we do when we don't agree or when we get crossways with people? Here in this tradition, what are we supposed to do?
Just walk away.
Maybe initially that's a good answer. Maybe when we first get crossways, it's good to walk away. But in this tradition, what we're called to do is come back to the table and work all the way through our differences. The adult education classes for recently, we're learning a lot about just how much that takes for people to accomplish. I think caring for our spiritual condition plays into it a whole lot. Makes us prepared internally to come face to face with people that we might not just automatically like. I appreciate your help. You have some trash for me to throw away? Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Okay, you want to see if I can get it. You want to help me sing the kids out to their classes, please? Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Y'all have fun. This reading is from Rainer Maria Rilke. Silent friend of many distances, feel how your breath enlarges all space. Let your presence ring out like a bell into the night. What feeds upon your face grows mighty from the nourishment thus offered. Move through transformation, out and in. What is the deepest loss that you have suffered? If drinking is bitter, change yourself to wine. In this immeasurable darkness, be the power that rounds your senses in their magic ring. The sense of their mysterious encounter. And if the earthly no longer knows your name, whisper to the silent earth, I'm flowing. To the flashing waters say, I am. The mysteries of the unsearchable and unknowable are always before us. Hopefully, it's a lifelong journey to move into those and explore more and more. What is it from which you draw your strength? What is it to which you turn when you're depleted and need to be refilled? What is it that you trust? What is it that you, at this stage of your life, whatever that happens to be, think is worth building upon? All things to consider while we spend a moment in silence. Sometimes in my preparation for a Sunday, my study and research, I find too many things I want to include in a service. There were two particular ideas that caught me for this week's message, and I'm going to try to weave them together without going too far down any one particular sidetrack. But I am going to do some asides. So, once upon a time, according to the Hebrew Testament or the Christian Old Testament, priests had to be born into a certain family. The first high priest was Aaron. Aaron was a descendant of Levi. The selection of Levi as the high priest actually happened in the narrative, in the story when Moses was up on Sinai. It was part of the law that was given to him that Aaron would be the first high priest. Aaron was of the lineage of Levi, who was a grandson of Abraham. Okay. Abraham is where Islam and Judaism and Christianity all begin. And at one point, God tells Abraham that his seed are going to be his offspring are going to be as numerous as the stars. And it's kind of happened like that, right? I mean, he was very, very old without a descendant when God told him that. So, you know, one of the miracle stories early on in the narrative. So Levi is one of the 12 tribes, or the names of the 12 tribes of Israel that all moved into the Promised Land. But because Aaron was of the lineage of Levi, and from Aaron, the priests had to be descended. They had to be like literal descendants of Aaron to be considered part of the priestly class. Okay? But when they went into the Holy Land, the Levites, the people of the tribe of Levi and Aaron's descendants, were not granted land like all the other tribes were. So they were dispersed among the other tribes to be the service priests for all of the tribes. Let's see, Aaron was Jacob's grandson. No, Aaron was Jacob's great-grandson, and Jacob was a grandson of Abraham. And from Jacob, the 12 tribes came. Whew. Does it matter? Kind of. See, I got off my script, and I'm already lost. Oh, okay, so Aaron was Moses' big brother. And Miriam, that we used to have a group of women here named for, was Aaron's big sister. But in all the naming of the tribes and in all of the division of responsibilities, Miriam was not included in the naming of the tribes. The women were pretty much excluded. Okay, so that was in the Jewish tradition. When Jesus came and the Christian tradition began, Jesus called 12 men from differing backgrounds to symbolize the 12 tribes. He taught them carefully and extensively, and then after Jesus' death, these 12 men hand-selected people who would also serve priestly sort of functions throughout Christendom. And in the Catholic tradition, it's God that calls priests, but they go through very extensive training and tempering to prove that they're worthy of priesthood. Okay. All of these things were very specific, very carefully monitored, and rigidly conformed to. And one of the main things in the Protestant Reformation that was a departure point for people from the doctrines of the Catholic Church was that Protestants, like Martin Luther, had found in the Scriptures indications that everybody that was a believer was a priest. The priests were all supposed to serve these sacramental functions. They were supposed to provide for reconciliation, tell people how to heal their souls by making up for the things they had done wrong. They were supposed to help with funerals and baptisms and weddings and anoint the sick and do all of these things. But the narrative says that Jesus told people all of the believers were priests. Martin Luther also found, in the priesthood, let's see. We are, through our spiritual seeking practices and disciplines, offered spiritual nourishment, which baptism is supposed to be, and the presence of the transcendent is as symbolized by the Eucharist in the Lord's Supper. Those things are available to us without some mediator telling us how to fill our spirits, how to reconcile our spirits, how to be spiritually nurtured, how to serve other people, to go to the hospital and offer strength and offer positive thoughts and comfort. By working together and living in covenant, we hold one another accountable for our actions. And by trusting one another enough to disclose where we've disappointed ourselves or where we feel like we have fallen down, we hold one another accountable, right? I'm not seeing a lot of agreement out there. Any of us now can officiate funerals. And thanks to the online Universal Life Church, anybody who cares to apply can legally conduct a wedding. We're all priests. We are our own mediators between all that is sacred in life and our spiritual condition. But Martin Luther also found in the Protestant Reformation that in the passages of the narrative, it talked about the prophethood of all believers, not just the priesthood. In North Louisiana Interfaith and in Together Louisiana, the trainings that both have offered, I have heard any number of times that a prophet is not just what we think of as somebody that's a predictor or a teller of events, but is also a fourth teller, someone who goes and speaks truth to power, someone who goes maybe at great personal risk to hold up unpopular ideas in almost any kind of place if they are laid upon their heart as a truth that's theirs to tell. I want to read some excerpts from a sermon by Reverend Dr. Andrew L. McDonald, a Presbyterian minister from St. Paul, Minnesota. These passages will eventually lead to some discernings of James Luther Adams, who was the preeminent Unitarian theologian in the 20th century. Okay, am I just doing this? Okay. He taught us, James Luther Adams taught us, that revelation is ongoing. James Luther Adams taught us that good is not immaculately created in the world. We have to be the hands. We have to bring good into the world. James Luther Adams taught us that we have the resources enough, both human and from whatever is bigger than us, to justify optimism, no matter what's going on around us. So all of this is James Luther Adams. Anyway, what does it mean to be a prophet? This is from the reading of MacDonald. The prophet Elijah is mentioned in the lectionary. When we hear the term, we usually think of someone who can tell the future. Soothsayers, augurs, psychics, newspaper columnists, weather forecasters, stockbrokers. A prophet is someone who changes people's minds. Recently, this is still McDonald, I was hiking in Alaska, a lifelong dream. Just as we started hiking, it starts raining. It's raining on my lifelong dream. Until my hiking companion, George, says, our old track coach would make us run in the rain. He'd say, come on, boys, rain is just liquid sunshine. Every time one of us would start to grumble about the rain, he'd say, it's just liquid sunshine. George changed my mind about rain. That's a good way to start to think about prophets. A prophet is someone who changes people's minds. Abraham Lincoln changed the country with his words in the Gettysburg Address when he said, a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. He changed people's minds. That was a prophetic imagination. Martin Luther King, along with his social action, changed people's minds when he said, I have a dream. Deeply rooted in the American dream, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Now we know this usage of the word men is archaic language. Once upon a time, the word men was used to represent all people. And we can assume in these contexts that's what it meant. At least that's my translation. Dr. King changed people's minds. He changed their imaginations about who we are as a nation. That it's the prophetic imagination, not predicting the future, but seeing the possibilities of the future and helping us feel it today. Reverend Dr. McDonald goes on to include a Flannery O'Connor story, Revelation, and I invite you to become familiar with that if you're not already. It's about people judging each other and not thinking they are being judgmental. Anyway. Then he goes on to write that again and again our consciousness has been hijacked by the world's idolatrous ways of thinking and speaking. We end up weary, demoralized, and domesticated. We end up in the grasp of the power of the culture, the principalities and the powers. Why? What hope does anyone have? Hope is found in prophetic ideas. The power to change minds. Now, in Interfaith and North Louisiana, Together Louisiana and those organizations, in their trainings, again, they refer a lot to Walter Brueggemann. Walter Brueggemann writes in his book, The Prophetic Imagination, in his book, The Prophetic Imagination, the task of prophetic ministry is to nurture, nourish, and evoke the consciousness and perception alternative to the consciousness and perception of the dominant culture. If we're in agreement with the dominant culture, we're not in our prophetic imagination. But since we are direct heirs of the Protestant Reformation, being the priesthood and prophethood, all of us, we are called on to seek that part of ourselves. First, to delegitimize the idolatrous ways that society is ordered to bring a critique and reject the idols of the dominant powers. And second, to nurture an alternative consciousness that energizes persons and communities to live towards the promise of a new time. Now, James Luther Adams, who McDonald is about to get into in his sermon, had gone to Germany to study. This was in 1935. He went to study Germany because, well, Germany was known for its profound thinkers in theology and Bible. He had high expectations, but when he arrived, he was confronted by a deeply unsettling fact. Germany's churches were not effectively resisting the rise of the Nazis. Their way of thinking about Christianity did not have adequate resources for seeing the dynamics of evil that were going on around them. And their faith did not offer adequate resources to resist. But there was a prophetic wing of the church known as the Confessing Church, whose members actively opposed Hitler at great personal risk. Adams later described the impact of his experience. In Nazi Germany, I soon came to the question, what is it in my preaching and my political action that would stop this? Talking about Hitler and the Nazis. It is not enough to say that we keep ourselves informed and read the best papers on these matters and perhaps join a voluntary association now and then. But to be involved with other people so that it costs and so that one exposes the evils of society requires something like conversion, something more than an attitude. It requires a sense that there's something wrong and I must be different from the way I have been. Adams' experience in Europe left a lasting mark on his thinking. He went on to teach at the University of Chicago and Harvard. He talked about conversion, guilt, sacrifice, discipline, tragedy, which was practically unheard of in his denomination because he was a Unitarian. But he saw that without strong ideas and constructs, I think bonds of covenant can be some of those, religion becomes complacent, merely accommodating cultural trends, distorts the values that are core to democratic government. Adams became the leading exponent of the church as the prophethood of all believers. He was the one saying this the loudest. Seeing the church as an institution whose people, rooted in the biblical and liberal traditions, learn to judge and correct their society. Now, I'm going to say something that may get me into some trouble here. But what I seem to have witnessed is some of the more fundamentally rooted Christian traditions have become uncomfortable with how liberal they have discovered the teachings of Jesus to be, and have rejected those to an extent that they prefer the doctrine of revenge, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, being chosen rather than inclusion. And it's at the peril of our country in a lot of ways. The aim of religious awareness or religious faith, religious community, or a religious life must be change or transformation. For two purposes: a change of consciousness, a change of mind, then a change of how we act in society. A prophethood. Because the world needs a new way of seeing, a new imagination of what's possible. We are prophets, if we are willing to make the quiet in our life to hear the voices that call us from deeper than we can explain, and not be swallowed up. Well, I'm going to share a few things from a Richard Rohr reading this week. We need the wisdom of a full prophet, one who can love and yet criticize, one who can speak their words of correction out of the experience of gratitude, not anger. We can't learn it in only our rational minds. Something beyond self has to soothe our anger, our angry hearts and spirits, to allow us to come to a place of inner freedom, a place of peace, and a place of fullness before we can speak as a prophet. This is what Gandhi did. This is what MLK did. This is what the people in the Protestant Reformation did. This is what the martyrs for Unitarian Universalism did. A prophet must hold on to the truth of their anger, especially as it is directed toward injustice. But the danger of the anger is that when we let it control us, we're not helping anymore. That's why we have so many false prophets right now in America. Today they are so angry, I want to sit there and say, I agree with you, This situation deserves anger, but you're not a good messenger because you're only making more angry. You're feeding your anger by letting it become your ego. We have to listen to our hearts and discern where the voices are coming from. Are they harsh, angry, hurtful, resentful, cynical voices telling us we've got to go out and do some righteous thing? Or are they coming from a place of freedom and a place of peace? We can tell after a while the difference between someone who's operating out of their own anger and compulsions and someone who is operating out of a heart of that which is beyond them, something bigger than themselves. Our common endeavor is where we hold one another accountable. It's half of our priesthood, the way that we interact together, the way that we carry out the functions of living into a spiritual life, if you will. And the prophethood comes from our care of our own spirit. But our mutual endeavor is the primary purpose of coming here, being a church, trying to work together to serve something in a stronger way than we can by ourselves, trying to serve something that helps us refuel, helps us be stronger in and of ourselves, even when we go out to be individuals. Our closing hymn is We Gather Together. We sing now together. It's the same melody. And I invite you to rise in body or spirit. What key did I find there? We sing now together our song of thanksgiving, rejoicing with strength which the ages have wrought, for life that enfolds us and helps and heals and holds us and leads beyond the goals which our forebears once sought. Now, there's supposed to be people singing an octave above that. I'm going to choke when I try to do it. We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and movers and seers. Our own lives expanding, our gratitude commanding. Their deeds have made immortal their days and their years. We sing of community now in the making, in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. We pledge ourselves in God firmly to stand. Margaret Fuller, who was a transcendentalist and also a Unitarian, said, "Only dreamers shall understand reality, though in truth their dreaming must not be out of proportion to their waking. Thou that hearest, listen. In the beginning is the cry, inarticulate, inchoate, essential, the primal cry of desires. Much later comes the word, ordered, various, pattern on a dark glass. Oh, how we must listen to hear the wanting within the word. Oh, listen to hear the meaning in the soul of what is said. The first act of a prophet is to hear one's own first cry. In the silence, let us listen, intentionally make time for that. Desire is good, and longing is the first prayer. Let us bless ourselves with knowing and bless each other with the words that are true. And let us be glad. We are the priests and the prophets that the world around us needs, and we need one another to do our best at that. I hope joy finds all of us. I hope strength finds all of us, and that truth sings from inside us as we go in peace, as we go in compassion and love. Amen. So be it. Blessed be. Namaste.